right, so greetings everyone if you're watching live or if you're listening in later via podcast or any of the other methods by which we are making the show available. This is the second episode of Top Deck Radio. I am your host, Thrawn, and joined as always by my partner in crime here, Manifesto. What's going on, Manifesto?
Hello, everyone.
And so, a couple small bits of podcast slash show housekeeping since our first episode last week. I have made some efforts to get the show available in other formats. So there's currently now 5 different ways that you can see Top Deck Radio. You can watch us live every Monday on the official channel, which is what you would be doing right now, or the Twitch VODs on the official channel. I also make the video of the show available on my personal YouTube, which is Thrawn Omega on YouTube, and we have audio versions up on Podbean, which Podbean, you can find them online. They also have, I believe, both an Android and an iOS app. And just today, we got approved, and Top Deck Radio is now showing on iTunes. I confirmed that earlier this afternoon. So 5 different ways to get a hold of us on a weekly basis, wherever you may be, and whatever's convenient for you.
Too many ways to see and hear us.
Yep. We're everywhere. But yeah, let's dive right into official news of the week. So I'm not sure the Friday update is the article I want to go with to start. So to start, we have the first in our Merry Melee series featuring Corinth versus Corinth. And Manifesto, you want to walk the uninitiated through what this mode is and how it works?
Yeah, so Corinth versus Corinth is the first of the Merry Melee modes, I guess you could call them, that they would be happening. The way they've worded this leads me to believe that every couple of weeks or months or whenever, we'll see, I guess, in the future, next week, I guess, when this one ends, if another one just starts, we'll be getting different fun, more geared towards fun, less competitive modes to play in hopes to win, I believe, what is it, a pack for a certain number of wins, and then 10 total wins, you get a sleeve, animated sleeve. Yeah, 3 wins, random rare, 4 wins, booster, 5 wins, booster, and a random rare. Yeah. And it's a gauntlet style, just like most of our other tournament, like on-demand queue tournaments are. And this one pits 2 players, both running 20 card decks. Both decks are the same. They are 4 of each color shard. And you both have Corinth, whose champ power is 1 charge. You create 3 random cards of the threshold you can play. You choose 1, it goes into your hand, and the other 2 just go away. And at the end of every turn, you sacrifice your hand, or not sacrifice, you shuffle your hand and your graveyard back into your deck and draw a new hand. So it's basically the closest thing you can get as like a TCG deck builder.
Yep, and
Start with nothing.
You said with your weekend plans and how busy you are, you haven't had the opportunity to actually play any of it yet?
I have not. I've played Corinth through the campaign, so I know how she works, but I have not actually fought another human being with her.
Yeah, so I streamed this for 7 hours on Saturday on my own personal channel, and it was a blast. There was one stretch, my best stretch was I had a perfect 5-0 gauntlet, and that 5-0 gauntlet ended with a Sliver of the Immortal Spear victory, where I was able to assemble them all and deal 5,000 damage to my opponent's face, which was glorious. But then, of course, there has to be balance in the universe, so after winning 5 in a row, I lost 5 in a row, and was on the verge of 2 consecutive 0-3 gauntlets when I finally turned it around and won a couple. But overall, I was keeping a win-loss counter. I've completed 7 total gauntlets, and I have a win record of 20 wins and 16 losses. So I'm on the right side of 500 there.
Yes, and capable noting that they did have to ban 2 cards. Frost Wizard, not Frost Wizard.
Yeah.
Frost Wizard? And I don't. The other one escapes me right at the moment.
Subtle Striker.
Subtle Striker. That's right.
Yeah.
They basically just null your your champ power, so it kind of breaks the format, which
Yeah.
was brought to their attention and resolved within what
24
48
hours.
hours.
Within 24, 48 hours, yeah.
So obviously, can't think of everything. Those guys got through the cracks, and
Yeah, those were good bans. The Subtle Striker, your opponents can't use charge powers. So if your opponent can't use their charge power to find a card, it's basically play Subtle Striker, win game.
yeah,
And Frost Wizard is almost to that same level where cards don't go into your opponent's crypt; they just get voided. So they're very rapidly losing their deck, and if they manage to kill your Frost Wizard, it just goes back into your deck unless you void it, and then they could shuffle up and do the whole thing to you all over again. So those cards did create pretty unfun experiences. So I think the bans from that mode were warranted.
also read, I don't know if it was a tweet or if it was something that Fred posted and like when I was reading through some numbers, but a ton of games were played over the weekend. Like people were apparently, for the most part, really enjoying this format because it was more games than I thought would be played.
Yeah, it was averaging like 73 games completed per hour, which is like a game finishing a minute. And Corinth games are not quick. I think my average Corinth game ran at least 15, 20 minutes usually. I did clock one person out because they couldn't figure out how to kill me and they just ran out of time.
Huh, I'm 2 for 2. It was Fred and it was on Twitter. I remember things.
Yay! So yeah, Corinth mode. It is a limited time event right now. It will run until Monday, the 7th of May. 7 or 10 a.m. Pacific is when it ends. So it is going on for another week.
Yeah, to
And
1 o'clock Eastern.
yep. And hopefully they will turn around after that and make it a permanent mode in some fashion, because it'd be nice to have that as a casual, way just to mess around with your buddies if you got a
Yeah.
little bit of time to kill and you want to engage in some shenanigans.
Oh, you just got really loud. you know. Um. Yeah, I don't know if they have to keep it around as a permanent mode. I'd like to see how they plan to do the rotations of this Merry Melee first before I say I want it like that. I would like if there's like a decent number of modes already that they have planned for this Merry Melee and they rotate on a 2-week basis. Like, and I know I'm going to see this again within 2-3 months. I'm fine with that, as long as there's something else. We'll see. No one knows until either they announce it this Friday update or on Monday when it rotates out. We'll see what happens.
It was suggested somewhere, I think maybe on the forums. Sorry, I'm getting hiccups. Maybe on the forums that Jankbot would be another easy one to do because they already have like Janklander rules built into Deck Builder. And I'd love to see them do some way where people kind of are able to rent a Jankbot where they have temporary Jankbots in their account, or people are just given some, or are able to buy some off a Charkmart or something, so that everybody's able to participate in that. I think that'd be a pretty nice one to bring out next.
There's definitely lots of options. You just gotta see where they go with it.
Oh yeah, Fred. So few people own Jankbot. Exactly. That's why if you're going to do it, it needs to be paired with a way to give more people Jankbots, like
It would just be
reprinted or something.
No, I mean that would like because if it's on a 2-week rotation and that's like the only time you're going to use it, it would be way better, and it would get more people playing it if like when you enter the gauntlet, like it brings up the deck, like how it brings up the deck here, and it just gives you the shards in it. It just has 4 Jankbots in it.
Yeah,
They're not yours, and you can't take them out. They're just there. And
right, they're just locked in the deck.
Yeah, they're just part of the startup mode. They're just in the deck. You can't do anything with them out of the gauntlet. They're not yours at the end. Maybe they could do it like if you win 10 games or something, you get one, where that could be one of the prizes for it.
Right.
But
And so, moving on from Corinth, the next big piece of news we had this week is the patch that came out, I think, Friday with Corinth versus Corinth mode, changing up the Doombringer champions and kind of an update on some bugs. So what struck you about how some of these changes are, I guess, being perceived in the community and how you see them working out?
I mean, I don't think anyone didn't see some of these coming. I think Blackberry Knight has been being talked about some form of changing the charges. I don't particularly like um the up in charges and lower in health. I I feel like, and this may have just been too hard to code, but in my idea for Blackberry Knight was the first one be 3 charges and that's fine, and then the next one be 4 charges, and then if there is another one be 5 charges, and it'd be like an escalating charge cost.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like 3-on-3 was fine because it enables things you wanted that champion to enable, like put a body out, for like mobilize, like for um uh consult the talent or something like that. But 4 charges is you're getting you're getting it 1 turn later, and you might not even see that second one until it's too late. Like, it doesn't matter. And on top of that, they also gave you 2 less health. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to kill it by any means. It's still going to be. I mean, it's still going to be one of the go-tos in limited. No question about it.
Yeah.
I just think 3 and then 4 would have been better than just all 4.
Blackberry Knight felt very kind of oppressive to me in limited. So I mean, just for those listening in and not seeing it in on screen, Blackberry Knight charge power changed from 3 charges to 4 charges to activate to get a Grapes of Wrath. Health reduced from 24 to 22, and so it it was the thing you would always run into when you're doing the Hex Clash and Sealed. It's like every other person was running a Blackberry Knight, and you'd see that constantly in draft too.
I'm catching up on chat now.
Andy Capable, what do you mean by cutting out Manny? Like our levels are too different, or?
No, I think it's just Discord. I mean, Discord cuts out a little bit every once in a while. It's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, because I hear those same cutouts.
Yeah.
If that's what you're talking about, and that's nothing I'm consciously doing.
No, if I cut out for too long, just tell me. I'll just repeat it. Hacky said what mode added 4. Oh yeah, that's what I said, Hacky. If the mode just added 4 jank bots to the deck when you went into the gauntlet. Other than that, I think Jaws going up to 25 is super good because I feel like Jaws is one of those champ powers. Like, if you don't get it early, you're too scared to use it late.
Yep.
It just puts you too low to be worth using. Some of the other ones, I guess, are just slight changes to make everything better or worse. I don't think they were really talked about before, but I'm sure tons of thought were put into them more than I did. I mean, Nameless Knight was pretty much unused, so I mean, anything to help that one's good.
I think at 6, it's probably still going to be unused.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not make it super great, but maybe the right cool. And then the reworks are great. I like all the new design changes for the familiar users.
Yeah, so let's talk about their well, Darien of Light isn't completely changed, but he did get a significant upgrade. Instead of his old version was pay 4, troop you control gets +1/+1. If you control a familiar, that troop gets +2/+2 instead. It now costs 5, so the charge power went up 1. Same buffs, but now it gives 1 or 2 boons, which is a pretty huge buff.
Yeah, 2 boons is nothing to shake a stick at if you hit the right boons. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I did a collection browser search on familiars though, and these guys still seem like they're going to be a little bit hard to pull off in limited because there aren't that many familiars. Maybe when set 10 comes out, they'll be more viable if there's a larger familiar base.
I definitely think that the familiar champions were geared more towards constructed. I don't think they were geared towards limited. It's just, like you said, it's just too hard to get. I mean, even if you got 2 of each one, I mean, you're talking about 4 cards that you have to have on the board to set off your thing. Like, there was already 2 really good Rhiannon decks in the Bash this weekend, 1 top 8. And the list runs 4 of both the Flame Imp and the Ruby Blood one. So I think they were definitely geared to play.
Yep. So Rhiannon's change used to be pay 5 charges, deal 1 damage to target opposing troop, which just seems wretched for 5 charges. If you control a familiar, deal 2 instead. Again, that still felt wretched for 5 charges. Now it's troops you control get +1 attack and crush. If you control a familiar, troops you control get +2 and crush this instead. So completely different effect,
Yeah,
much more powerful effect for the same amount of charges.
it's like what's his face, the +2/+2. Uh,
Fuzzico, no, Furico,
yeah, it's
one of the two.
but it also gets crushed. It's super strong. That's a great. I mean, that's just a really good aggro champion now. And yes, Vestris top 80 with him. I will be talking about. Well, we might talk about later. I mean, I definitely want to talk about later. But.
Yeah, and we can't not talk about Lady Avalanche when we talk about charge power changes.
Thank. I mean, I don't. I didn't actually count. I noticed when I went through that there weren't even as many Lady Avalanche champions played this week, and I don't know if it was a combination between the nerf and people not knowing how it was going to perform, so they just didn't bother trying, or if it was a combination of the Lady Avalanche nerf plus the new Bash and Clash announcements, and people just might have been like, I'm not even going to play it this week because it's going to be different, and they're just excited for the new one. But I was happy. I was happy to not see 4 Lady Avalanches in the top 8, and I was happy that new things were being played. And I don't know if it's all due to this nerf, if she's not just going to come back after people have a week to test with her and realize that the hit didn't really hit that hard.
Yeah, I don't think the change from 4 to 5 is by any stretch of the imagination a knockout blow to Lady Avalanche, but that deck is such a runaway tier 1 that it's nice to see her brought back down to earth with everybody else a little bit.
Yeah. She'll definitely be played. It's still a top tier deck, no question asked. I mean, you just have to be a little more. You just have to deck for a little more anti-aggro early because you're not gonna be able to combo off on 4. You're gonna combo off on 5, so you gotta keep those candles and those nulls at bay for one more turn.
Yep, it can't be quite so linear.
Yeah, but once you, you're still gonna have those 24/24 momentum troop. You're just gonna have them a turn later. You just have to survive a little longer.
Yep, and then they also announced not really so much of a bug fix, but a wording correction to match how the card behaves. And they illustrated Brilliant Annihilix was the poster child for this. You want to kind of explain what that was?
So instead of, I don't know how to word this without sounding terrible. So Brilliant Annihilix, basically, the bug was that it read that it couldn't be targeted or blocked by non-prismatic cards. So the way it was supposed to work was that your opponent could not use removal on it or block it by non-prismatic cards, but also you were not supposed to be able to target it with non-prismatic cards. But however, you could. Basically, if it was your Annie, you could still play things like, just like Pile Driver. You could buff your own Brilliant Annihilix with a mono color, with a mono threshold card,
Right.
and you weren't supposed to be able to do that. So apparently, they took a while to try to fix it. Fix was not. Basically, fixing it would have broken more things and taken more time than really should have. Like, that was economically good for the game. So they've changed the text on the card to just read how the card actually currently functions in the game. Which, on the one hand, is good because now there's no more confusion. But on the other hand, and this is where it gets kind of like, it's just, I guess, opinionated. Like, did they do the right thing? The card doesn't work the way the card was intended. And in my opinion, I think for a card like Annie, it's not great because the ability to buff your own troop easily while it's equally harder to remove is not good, is not balanced. But then, like, on the next card, like on Nibbler, it doesn't really matter. It's not as it's not as a big of a deal. They just reworded Nibbler. They did the same thing so it now does what it says it does in game, without people being angry that it
Well,
doesn't do
and
something. I guess.
worst case scenario with this wording correction is that if Brilliant Annihilus appears way too busted, with people being able to buff it, is they can always go back to they could always just straight up ban it if they had to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not going to reread the whole article here, but they kind of explain their rationale behind this, and it's a cost benefit analysis thing. Do you really want to open Pandora's box of potential other bugs to fix this one deal, or
Yeah.
do you kind of leave it how it lies? Just make sure people understand this is how things are functioning here, and then move on with your day. And I think for this specific situation, I agree with the decision they made. And as long as this isn't, a situation they find themselves in repeatedly, I'm fine with how they did it.
Yeah. I mean, I believe them when they say that it was going to break more than. I mean, if you think about how the card interacts and like all the different like targetable cards that are in Hex, there's hundreds of cards that target cards. So if they change something for Brilliant Annihilus that breaks how cards targeting other cards works on a fundamental level, that's like you're adding a game breaking bug to fix a non game breaking bug. So I don't disagree with their choice. Their choice was the best that they could do with the situation given.
Yeah, as Hacky puts it, do you want more Merry Melee modes, set 10 on time, and whatever else Hex wants to work on? Or do you want to not target your own Annihilus with non prismatic cards?
Basically,
I'll take door number A.
like what you said, you just don't want to set it as precedent for every single bug that comes out. That it's just we can change the card text, which I don't believe is what they're going to do. But what do you call those, slippery slopes?
Yep.
I'd personally like more PvE stuff. Yeah, a lot of us are on the same boat, and I believe it's coming.
And I just got Isabella up on screen because we were getting a little bit of grief for skipping her. I think the only change was her charge power went from 5 to 4.
Yes.
Summon a zombie, gets the Death Crest avoided troop, so just made it a little bit cheaper, but nothing earth shattering.
And definitely think it makes it usable. Or
Rabid Rider got a needed
Slight-
nerf
yeah.
from 3 attack to 2 attack and feral. So it doesn't quite kill you dead quite so fast.
I like PvE stuff on console. Well, I just tell people who say that they should be playing this on PC anyway. My opinion.
All right, so now I've got I'm bringing up the Friday update, and we've got probably another one of the hugest bits of information of the week, and that is that they have changed the prize structure for how the Clash and the Bash are going to work moving forward, and not just the prize structure, but the length.
Oh yeah. I like to tell you guys a little story. I am sitting enjoying my weekend, and I get this Twitter message from Thrawn. It says they removed the cash prize from the Clash and the Bash, and I'm like, what? Why would they do such a thing? This is terrible. And his reply is just like, oh, I love it. But I'm like, how can you love it? We just got our biggest reason to do these long tournaments taken away. He didn't mention that you still get a plat payout or that it was shortened. He just said that there was no more money prize. And
I may have omitted some details.
He omitted all the details. I just got really sad really fast, and I grabbed my phone and pulled up the article, and I was just like, man, I'm not sure if he's trolling me or what. But
yes,
it's definitely way hands down.
I'm missing it in the article, but isn't this effective starting next weekend?
I believe it's effective starting week after this one.
We have run into starting May 5th. So it is this weekend.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Is
so
this
it is this
because
weekend.
okay, so the way they are doing this now is rather than have your bash and your clash be all day Ironman marathons, there's going to be one bash and one clash every single day. And on Saturdays, the bash comes first. On Sundays, the clash comes first. One at 8 a.m. Pacific, one at 4 p.m. Pacific, and same pricing to get in. That hasn't changed, but now they are 4 round Swiss pairings. 0 and 1 win gets you nothing. Two wins gets you 5 boosters of the current set and animated alternate art. 3 wins will get you 12 packs of the latest set, a card, the AAA card, and the sleeve of that event. And 4-0 gets you 10,000 platinum, the alternate art card, the sleeve, and a battle board. So you said you're a fan of these changes overall?
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Someone did the math on the Reddit. I wanted to see. I want to repeat it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, while you're looking, I can share the part I remember, and that's basically if for every 16 people that enter the tournament, one person is going to go 4-0. So every 1 in 16 is a 10,000 platinum winner. And I think it's entirely reasonable. About half of the field, give or take, is gonna fall into the 2 win range, where you're walking away with 5 boosters, whether you're playing the Clash or the Bash. And if you're in the Bash, you're actually turning a slight profit, going 500. So I think this is a nice boon to the average player that you don't have to be a legend to get some nice rewards for your time, and you're in and out in 4 hours or less now versus it being all day.
Yeah. Okay. So I found it. It was actually in the Battle Shopper blog this morning, not in the Reddit. Which I find through Reddit, which is why I thought it was on Reddit. But as someone who plays the Clash and the Bash in its current iteration as sitting all day and streaming it all day, this is a welcome change. For one, it's way more, not even new player friendly. It's just more player friendly. As far as people with time commitments and people that don't have all day, would I like to be able to win, like have the chance at, you know, going top 8 and paying a portion of my rent? Sure, but at the same time, I would rather the game be successful. The little bit of the article I was reading was that the author of Battle Shopper crunched the numbers, and based on the current average people that enter the bash, which is around the 60 mark, 60 to 70,
Right.
uh, every single bash, 176 packs will be put into circulation from winning. So that's 176 cards being put into the market, into the economy, at one point or another. So it's. I mean, that's just a number, but it's more than what currently is. So anything that drives the economy, puts more cards into the economy, lowers the prices on the auction house, and then we have what everyone's been complaining about how expensive competitive decks are, goes down, and then we won't have to have anything like, and we just won't have to have budget deck like the whale discussion.
Yeah.
I do think that the entry fees probably should have came down a little bit, because some of the cost was, I was paying $7 to basically have an all day of playtime, and now I'm only going to have 4 hours of playtime. If I don't win,
Yeah, but how many people actually treated that as I'm going to play all 7 rounds and didn't drop when things weren't going their way?
if I didn't currently have anything to do, I would play out the whole thing. So I would say about 50-50.
Yeah, I guess I very rarely played them all out, but I mean at 2 wins right now for the bash, you're paying 700 plat, which is about $7. If you win half of your matches, you've got $10 in booster packs going store value. Obviously, auction house you can buy them for less, but store is nice, easy math. Um, and so figure $8 to $10. You're still turning a modest profit. At 3 wins, you're getting 12. So now you're turning a very good profit. And at 4 wins, 100. You turned your $7 basically into 100. That's a huge. That's a huge
That's what
profit there.
the Battle Shopper article actually goes on to say, that a competitive player can realistically go infinite in Constructed now. If you win, what did he say? His numbers. There's 34 batches a year. If you win 59%, you can. If you just need to win 4 batches to basically, how do he word it? 3 sets are dropped a year. There are 52 weeks a year, so 34 batches per set. You need to win 4 of those. You need to win 4 batches per set to basically almost buy out an entire entire play set.
Yeah. So I know there are some people who are sad that cash is gone, and some people. I'm not one of these people, but some people really love their Iron Mans.
Yeah.
But I think for the average competitive minded person who's like, I want value, this should work well for you. For the scrub like me, who went into the bash and basically, like you said, paid the 700 plaques, is like, I want to have some fun for a day and play and actually be challenged against the best of the best. That was good, but I knew I was never going to win anything in the bash in the old format. Where now I actually feel like I can get some prizes for my efforts. So I think for the mediocre player like me, and I'm not dissing anybody, I'm calling myself a mediocre player. This is a thumbs up. Yeah, aggressive, exactly, aggressively medium. Um, any other thoughts on the prize structure changes with that? Otherwise, I'm just going to segue into another topic.
If I had to actually try to find one negative, the only feel bad I can really see out of this is that at the end of the Bash or Clash, you aren't left with a best of the best.
Right.
A bunch of people technically are going to win the Clash and Bash each weekend now, as opposed to there being like, hi, I'm X and X Hex player. I've top 8'd, 6 bashes. Like, there's no more status symbol that goes along with it.
Right.
That's really like the only negative I can glean out of all of it.
For us,
so that's all going to get dumped into, but it'll just make your placement in the CCS that much more important. But then again, everyone can't grind out the CCS either. So
for us as casters, then it kind of, if you're going to highlight a match, then it's which of these 4-0s are the most interesting decks versus, here's your Magic best player.
Yeah.
The one thought I had on this, which I'm absolutely sure it's true, so I'm in no way saying Hex Entertainment is wrong about this. I think there's more to the prize change and the way they're doing this than just having issues with cash prize payouts across the country. I am sure paperwork cross countries is a pain in the butt. My one personal experience I have with that sort of thing is that when I studied abroad in Japan, as part of our time in the university, we had to sign up for bank accounts with a Japanese bank so that we could get our stipend to use for like lunch meals and stuff. And because you're filling out things in English and sometimes they can't read English and you had to do some things in Japanese too, all of your handwriting had to be exactly perfect. And if your signature was not an exact match to how your signature was on your passport and things like that, you had to do the whole form over again. And some people had to fill out the same form 3, 4, 5 times before the bank would say, yep, okay, you can have your account now. And that's just one weird example. So I'm sure there's global payout issues, but I think another part of it that goes into the fact that the Clash and the Bash in their old format were losing money. You'd be giving out $1,000 in cash and maybe bringing in 500 plat in entry fees. And it kind of comes to a point where that's just a bad business decision to keep throwing money at that when it's not making you money. And so changing the format away from that was a smart move. Like, it makes good business sense to, okay, this isn't making us money. Let's think of a different way to do it. It's just a little awkward that they don't want to kind of admit to that, because I think that's a part of it too. Or do you think I'm just crazy?
I mean, I'm sure it has legs, but they either felt like it wasn't important enough to really bother us with those details, or we wouldn't care as much. We want to know how it affects us, not so much them.
Right. Handy capable. Their wording concerns me about the CCS. Yeah, it's. I mean, maybe they're okay with it if it's once every. The CCS is once every 2 months versus doing two of these a week.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a level of headache they're willing to deal with as far as global payouts go.
What's up, Nero?
But the
We should give a shout out to King Gabriel before
oh
I. You
yeah,
want to move to the VIP stuff?
I'll get to the VIP stuff. But yes, so we have a new noble in the house. Noble Ixel
Say
is
bye
moving
to it.
over to 80 Arcade. And we now have Noble King Gabriel, or I think he might just be staying as King Gabriel, but getting the orange flavoring in game behind his
Yeah.
name.
I think he becomes Noble King Gabriel.
Yeah, they might have to do that for consistency's sake.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a new Noble in chat. Say hi, give him some love, give him some grief. I give Roostosaurus my favorite Noble to pick on because I've actually met him in person and we're both Star Wars fans, so he kind of knows when I'm just giving him grief.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then the other part here was, you know, I wanted to throw in my hot take of the week early because it segues into the bash and the class changes. That with these prizes being so good, and so upped for the average player, the prizes for the VIP tournaments are now they just feel incredibad. Um, I believe I had tried to look this up on the tournament site, so I'm not entirely sure if this is correct anymore. But I believe going 4-0 in a VIP tournament is either 10 packs or 12, and then you get these AAs. And a lot of these VIP tournament times overlap with the times that you could be in a clash or a bash. So would you rather, enter a tournament where you can win 10 to 12 packs and a couple AAs? Or would you try to go for enough platinum to buy 50 packs out of the store or whatever else you wanted? And so it's just why, it doesn't feel to me like I don't see VIP tournaments firing off anymore in their current iteration. We've already reached kind of a point of saturation, I think, with scheduled tournaments. And like I said, the Hex Clash and the Bash are just so much better as far as pricing goes. So I'm going to switch this back over to um, our Talking Heads mode for a second while I pull up a different site. So I had some people like this, some people don't like my idea. I had maybe a slightly controversial idea on how to revamp the VIP program. And my thought was, let's get away from this being a competitive deal with VIP where people have to fight each other to earn their prizes. We have enough tournaments. And I was thinking like a loot crate model, and I went to lootcrate.com here for a very specific reason, because when I went to the forums and I typed the words loot plus crate, people lost their mind and weren't paying attention to what I was actually talking about.
I went and
So
grabbed my pitchfork, so I can't blame him.
so my intention behind what I'm talking about here is reshaping the VIP program into a monthly boxed goods deal where everybody gets the same, and the word same is extremely important, selection of goodies credited into their account. Whether it be like exclusive sleeves that you can only get as a VIP member, an exclusive battle board, a selection of booster packs, entry tickets into like a draft or an Evo, stuff like that. And that way you're getting some recurring income. People are getting some free swag or getting some swag. I don't want to say free because you're paying for it. It's VIP. But draw some recurring revenue that way. Um, but people, and again, the same is being important. I would need Hex to ignore those evil little devils on the shoulder that would say, well, maybe we should put 3 different sleeves in here and you could get one of 3 different sleeves, or you could get one of 2 AA cards. No, don't do that. because all that will do is create a feel bad moment if somebody doesn't get a sleeve they wanted or they don't get the AA card they wanted, and somebody could feel more VIP than somebody else. So you're giving all people all the same stuff, and this is kind of a model for a VIP subscription. But people were freaking out at my idea, thinking I was talking about Battlefield or Battlefront 2 loot boxes, which is not at all what I was talking about. Like, we already have that in the form of chests in the Wheel of Fate in game. I'm not advocating anything that is more RNG based. It's just a pure. I want pure feel good. Here's some cool stuff, not feel bad. Randomness or people wondering if they're getting their value out of the program or not. So that was kind of my idea. But any thoughts on that from your end? If not, the forums have been giving it to me all day. But
I personally, I am not in a VIP anymore, mostly because of the same reasons. I didn't have time to schedule around the tournaments. I was doing a little thinking since you came up with this. I was like, well, I might as well put some of my brain cells to use, not let you do all the thinking around here. What I came up with is, I think instead of a VIP tournament, the VIP ticket should be a substitute for any entry you want to do. I think you should get your VIP ticket, and your VIP ticket can be cashed in or whatever, redeemed, I guess is a better word. Redeemed for a bash entry or a clash entry, or I don't know if it would work so much for the Immortal because of how they have their current system in. It kind of feels cheap, like you didn't put in the 10 games of work type of thing, because that's more of a you have to qualify as opposed to just buy into it type deal. But I don't think the VIP should have its own tournament. Like, I don't think all the VIP players should be playing against other VIP players. I think they should just get like a redeemable ticket that you can use in lieu of paying your plat for a different tournament.
I can
Obviously,
I can see that.
More in the future.
Yeah,
As
you're cutting out there.
Sorry. I was just saying you could use other. Obviously, we might have more in the future, so yeah. So it'd just be like a swap out. Like, you want to play a bash this weekend and you have a VIP. Congratulations, you get to play the bash for free this one time this month. As far as the other stuff, I agree that your idea is not bad. I agree your idea is good. For me, I like knowing what I'm buying or like what I'm paying into, so I don't like the whole loot crate. Like, I had them for a long time. I got like the nerd box and some of the other stuff, and some months I got stuff that I really liked, and some months I got stuff that instantly got thrown into the garbage.
Yeah.
I would prefer, if this is just for me as IMOs, the items we get be more like the collector tier. You get to the VIPs from the previous month get to vote on the alternate art card for the next month, and you just get 4 of them. You just get a play set. Like,
right.
when the winner, like everyone who re-ups their VIP gets a 4 of the alternate art rare for that month. So that's twofold. One, you know what you're paying into for the next week, because you're going to know what the winner is before the VIP comes out.
Right.
And it keeps people on it, because you're not going to give up your VIP if you just voted on a cool alternate art card you want and you won. And if by chance yours didn't win, you still want the chance to vote on the next one, so you're going to keep your VIP. And you're still going to get 4 cards, and you might just sell them if they're not alternate art ones that you happen to love.
All right.
As far as the other stuff, yeah, it'd be cool to add more things like a battle board, but I wouldn't want it to be in a behind door number 1 type box. I would just like them to come out and be like, you get your 1 redeemable code for any tournament, you get your 4 AA cards that you voted on the month before, and you get 1 battle board, or you get 4 promo Stardust, so you could extend the art of those cards if they're the ones that won, that like the one you voted for, or you could save it for next month. something like that. I just like to know what I'm buying as a to
Right.
just because personally, like I love sleeves, but you can only use one sleeve at a time.
Right.
If I don't love the sleeve I get for that VIP, it's going to go into my collection. I'm probably never.
And
So
of all the concerns people have with this idea or the reasons not to like it, I think that one's the most fair. Is the I would like to know what I'm being asked to pay for argument.
yeah,
I can totally get that, but I think everybody, whether you like this idea or not, I think everybody agrees that VIP seriously needs to be addressed and kind of revamped, and it's never been more apparent now with the Bash and the Clash rewards, changing out. But there was some people saying like, is this gambling? And look, I'm going to direct you to the forums. I had to go to dictionary.com and grab the definition for gambling. Loot boxes are not gambling, people. That is not what that word means. In the loot crate sense of the term loot box, I'm not talking about Overwatch skins. I'm not talking about, you know, what Battlefront 2 is trying to do or anything. I'm talking about in the box goods model of things.
but even that is a little bit because all Loot Crate, like the actual company Loot Crate, promises you is a T-shirt and X number of items of nerd culture.
Right.
So you could still get bad stuff, but they guarantee you that what you're getting retail value is over what you're paying for the Loot Crate. It's basically your only like safety net. But at the same time, it's yes, it's value like from a store may be worth it, but its value to you may not be. Like if I got a Loot Crate that was all like half My Little Pony stuff, the value to me is zero.
Oh, good.
Sorry for all you My Little Brony fans out there, but
All right.
So-
Show notes broke on me when I tried to delete stuff to scroll down, so we're just gonna have to not do show notes on screen until I figure out a better way to do that.
so it's not as gambly as like the Overwatch crates or stuff, but it's still you still don't know what you're getting. If you don't know what you're buying when you give someone money and it's a roulette type system of what you're getting, it's gambling. I mean, a gamble. It may not be gambling, but it's a gamble.
Yeah, sorry. I might sound a little bit trolly for this, but the Belgium government saying that loot boxes are gambling is not what I'm going to take as the final word on that subject.
Yeah.
That feels pretty nanny state to me. So,
And I feel like right when you say it's not gambling because you're getting your money's worth back guaranteed, but it's a gamble on if the items you get are in your eyes valuable to you if you don't know what they're going to be. So like I said, I don't think your idea is bad, and I definitely think it's better than what we currently have. It's just in my opinion, I like that knowing. I like that knowing thing. Like if they want me to they want me back in VIP, I need to know what I'm getting. And I have to at least be okay with knowing that half of those things are going to make it worth ponying up the whatever amounts of dollars it is every month.
and knowing is half the battle.
Even if they tiered it out, like you could have tiers of VIP where like the first tier is just the packs and the AAs and the pass, and if you want to get tier 2, you also get a battle board each week or each month, because that might get the people who really love battle boards and the people that really love sleeves tier 3. You can throw them battle boards and sleeves, but then the people who don't care about cosmetics as much can just stay at the bottom tier, get their free tournament, their free packs, and their AAs, move on with life.
Okay, so I'm moving us over, shifting our gears here into community stuff. And so I'm pulling up here one of the forums from Chalk Maw. Get back over into showing things. Chalk Maw is trying to work with the idea here. You can find this in Hex discussions. Battle deck ideas. Chalkmaw wants to get a list together of possible pre-made decks that are budget friendly, with the idea that these pre-made decks could be made available in store for players new to the game to pick up and buy something right out of the box that they could use to win on the ladder. So what he's looking for here, as he puts it, decks that have 75 card list, including the sideboard, as tuned and effective as possible, and there's pricing limits on here too. But he's throwing out plat rewards for people to try to throw in ideas. There is some precedence for this idea. They did for a time have three. I think there were three decks in the store, weren't there? That were designed by Hex players.
I don't know if they were designed by Hex players or not.
I think one was designed by Jeff Hoogland. I think one was designed by Varanus, and maybe the third was Chris Van Meter. I can't remember who made the third one, but they had three decks in the store that were kind of like better tier starter decks that you could buy to use to kind of play in the ladder and be reasonably competitive with. But then when all of those cards rotated out of standard, those decks went away, and they haven't brought in anything to replace them since along that similar vein. And so that's what Chalkmaw has going on here.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm gonna blanket this with my opinion. I don't like this. On the other hand, it's something that the Wardens have been doing for at least the last season now. We've put together three budget ladder decks, and we get donations all to one account, and we create the decks, and then we raffled them off to new players joining the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. The thing I don't like is that it just goes against my idea of what a TCG should be, as far as actually going out and playing and collecting your own cards, as opposed to just joining the game and going,
all right,
I want to play this deck. And I mean, if that's really how you want to play it, there's so many resources already. Like, minimal research into this game, you'll find Hex PvP tools. Pick a deck you like and buy it. I mean, it's not. You're basically just asking someone to do the auction house work for you, which is fine, but
yeah, it's just as Nearest pointing out, every TCG has precons, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in any way to be an insult to anybody, because I lump myself into this statement. People are lazy, and after a hard day of work, if I want to just come home and play a video game, I just want to, sometimes you just want to slap together a deck and go. And that's why people sometimes net deck too, is because brewing a deck takes thinking.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't always want to have to think, does this deck work or is this a pile of garbage? And especially, for the PlayStation 4 community, I think it even would benefit from this even more, because the PlayStation 4 new user experience, and I know because I have an account on that, it's not great. So if somebody wants to just say, you know what, I'm willing to pay $5 to $10, give me a deck that's reasonably competent so I can start having some fun, I see no reason not to offer that as an optional service too, because then that gets people playing your game, giving them a read for an archetype, and then deciding where they want to go with their collection from there.
What's his cost on this? What's he looking for? A new place to for 3K plat? What's
yeah.
2K? No, 20K?
Yeah, 2K. So he's putting a $30 price on this. I think realistically it should probably be less if we're really trying to, cater to a budget crowd. The collector decks aren't designed to be aggressively, high winning decks. They're there for the pretty AAs and the nice sleeves.
Because I mean, obviously the collector's decks are there for the nice AAs and the sleeves, but I think that's what's to get people who already have the cards to get them. I still think that's what the overall purpose of the collector's decks, because the collector's decks do work. I mean, they may not be the best, but I mean, they're always a good starting point for something. They're always with the exception of the latest one. I mean, I guess it's in the elemental vein, but I forgot what the word's called.
Yeah, Ranter saying in chat, the precons we had were 12 to 1500 plats, so $12 to $15, and they worked up to premium, and I think it'd be good to see a revival of some of that. I think I'm more towards plus it's another way for Hex to monetize their game, where they're getting all the money off of those cards rather than taking a fractional cut off the auction house.
Well, they're
And
getting all. Yes, that's true, but they're if someone's just going and cherry picking cards like that for a deck, and that deck can get them to platinum, and that's all they're going to do with the game, they're not going to buy any more packs. You're cutting someone out. I mean, they're getting money, yes, but they could potentially be losing money too, or not making as much money. I guess would be correct.
I'm not sure how I follow. If you give, if because somebody, if you're saying somebody's only going to use one deck, then they're only going to use one deck no matter where they get it. Whether they had to go through our lovely auction house and assemble it piece by piece, or just, hey, I got 30 seconds and some money. Here's my deck off the store, and boom, go. You know what I mean?
Like you, by selling them pre-made decks, you're pushing them away from buying booster packs, actually building a collection and learning how to brew and playing the bigger game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can kind of see that, but it gives the new player kind of a starting ground as to, do I even like this or not, without having to buy a bunch of packs and then open up a ton of stuff they don't even want to play. I'm trying to keep up with chat while talking with you, and it's hard.
Yeah. And Malala, no, I wasn't talking about the Warning companion decks that we have on the the site. What, did we call them companion decks? I don't think we called them companion decks. I'm just talking about, we did it last month. We had a Candles deck. It was Candles, Deathcry, and I'm drawing a blank on what the third archetype was. But we just had, I mean, they were super budget. They were like less than $5 decks. Like, it was Candles budget. I can't remember. I'm not gonna remember what the third one is. Thought if I redid it, I would remember it. But and we just, yeah, like, I mean, they were cheap enough to make that we got almost every card through donation to make like 4 or 5 of each deck, and then we raffled them off at the last two the Warden shares before we started doing just the packs, because basically because the budget decks never changed and we gave out so many that we didn't really need it.
Okay, so I just put a post in that thread I was talking about to bump it to the top of the Hex general discussions, since we were just talking about it. So if you go into the forums and you want to take a look at what we've been talking about in terms of battle deck ideas and budget things, you can go in and weigh in there. Now, where's the next thing I wanted to pull up? Okay, here we go. Pandemica's Pit. Let me get back over to our show stuff screen. Were you able to read through the thread? Did you get kind of grasp what Pandemica's doing, or do you want me to walk people through this one?
You can take this one. I read it once, but it was last week, and lots happened.
All right. So Pandemica, aka the Tribunal Magistrate on Twitch here, our benevolent Spider Lord, is starting up again on his channel a weekly tournament series. This is going to have varying formats. I do believe his intent is to change the format every 2 weeks. So his starting format, he calls it Jank Lock. I called it Jank Lock It when I teased that it was a thing I was going to do. And then I never actually did it. So shame on me. Massive kudos to Pandemica for actually making it a thing. For this tournament, you need to have 4 copies of Jankbot, 4 copies of Locket of Reflection. Everything else has to be 2 ofs to be able to trigger off of the Lockets of Reflection. He's got the challenge link here, so if you want to sign up for the tournament, you can. It starts Thursday night, so a couple days from now. Excuse me, and that is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. He doesn't really have announced in here what the prizes are going to be, but I think he's pretty much self-financing these tournaments, as I understand it, and maybe some community donations. So, it's a free-to-enter tournament. If you got the cards, you can just show up, so nobody gets to complain about the prizing when the tournament's free. If you complain about free stuff, shame on you. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna try to. Yeah, I don't think I might be moving. I might need to be helping my dad out with stuff on Thursday, so I don't think I'm physically going to be around to play in this week. But otherwise, I would totally love to be doing something like this, and it's good to see more wacky options and ways for people to play with each other. Tim Mulgar says you think he's had quite a few donations. That's good because Dungeon Masters of Entrath has not, but Hex Hex has my back on that a little bit at least. Um, not tied into what Pandemic is doing, but Hex basically said "I love you" in spreadsheet form to me when I looked at my codes for the month. So Dungeon Masters of Entrath is going to get some prizes juiced a little bit. But yeah, so on topic, Pandemica's Pit. I would wholeheartedly encourage people to check this out. And if you can't play Jankbot because you don't have Jankbots, you don't have lockets, still keep an eye on this space and what Pandemic is doing because the format changes every couple weeks, so it's likely to become something that you are able to play and participate in. Fred's saying, if people need Jankbots and lockets to participate, you think who Pandemic has a few extras that he could loan out for the duration of the event? That'd be nice. I don't have extras, unfortunately.
Definitely join a Discord community or another Hex community and see if you can borrow them. Not everyone's gonna be able to participate, so the janks are out there for the taking. Plenty of people, the older players, definitely have them.
Yeah, I keep saying, Jank is on the list of things that need to be reprinted or made more available already.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we talked about Pandemic as Pit. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the Hex card creator. As you can see on screen, the camera frames around me and Metaphesto are made using the Hex card creator that I am about to show off for you. I made a few fun joke card frames just kind of related to our stream projects that we do when we are not doing Top Deck Radio together. And so I'm going to bring up the forum thread here. Super apologies if I'm butchering your name. I think it's Faruia. The RUR just kills me. But there's a Hex card creator. You can click the link that's in the forums here. And I've clicked this, so I know we're not going to get something bad. Bookmark this site, and what happens is, you'll ask for a card name, thresholds, what rarity you want, and you're basically filling out all of the items needed to make the card, and then at the end you can upload an image, and it'll spit out your custom card. So, as you can see here, some people have been making custom ones. Here's Coach Flipperon, the card. Minuet, a nice unique elf card. So people have been putting in the forums here. Here's somebody's cat, the card. Pond of the Forsaken, the angry cat. Unknown chart. I like the prismatic looking eyeball. Unique venom looking thing. So this is a fun thread to keep an eye on. There's a lot of negativity in the forums sometimes, but this one, you don't feel bad jumping into this forum to look at the cool cards that people have come up with. Really nothing wrong with this here. But yeah, so find the link, have fun making some cards, and I want to, say thank you again for that, because that gave me a nice new toy to kind of swag up our production values and make us look a little bit cooler than we actually are, or at least than I actually am.
Just always be mindful of art copyrights, though.
That's
things.
Yeah, and where you post things and throw stuff around.
Yeah, don't want throwing make a cool card, throw it up on Twitter is all great, but if you grab the art from Google and it's not okay to be reused with modification, you might get someone tweeting angry tweets at you. It happens, unfortunately, but people like to be recognized for their art, which is respectable. Just something to keep in mind when making your cool cards.
Yeah, but make all the cards. If anybody makes anything Dungeon Masters of Entrath related, or anything that you think is like good to show off on the official channel, let me know. Um, before we move on to other things, I want to, because we don't have anything, we didn't have much here. I want to briefly call attention again to the pinned thread in Hex Discussions, Top Deck Radio, viewer mail, and plays of the week submission thread. We did get one question via Twitter that I think we'll get to, but there was no plays of the week, no video submitted, no questions left for us here. So we want to, try to include the community as much as possible in what we're talking about. And this is a great thread to, leave us stuff. But if people don't leave us stuff, then we're just going to kind of become a talking head show by lack of us not having community stuff to feature. Awkward silence.
Sorry, am I supposed to fill that?
No. But yeah, so we're at a little over an hour. I think we had a couple minutes of filler before we actually started talking. Do you want to I had just kind of thrown out a couple discussion topics, but we've had a lot. We could skip those if you want for now and go into cards of the week.
Yeah. Are we doing a guess the card this week?
Yes, and I actually did that better this time in how I set things up.
Yeah.
So
I think that was a good amount of time for basic news and community news. So hope you all enjoyed that.
Yep. So
Those that don't get to peruse the Reddits and the forums, you got what you needed.
Let me get my hex.
So we're gonna do cards next. I can start that up while you're.
Yep.
Basically, one of the segments we wanted to do is just kind of a little like card table talk, like something you'd have a discussion over lunch, or you talk about over a jog or other non-hex activity with someone who also plays hex. And one of the things that comes up is what's your favorite card. So we decided to extrapolate that over many, many views by cutting it down to what are your favorite cards of X threshold and X type. So every week we'll have a different threshold type combination of card, and me and Thrawn and chat can always throw out what their favorites are of that type. We'll do our top 3, and these cards aren't necessarily the best card. It's not what's the best wild troop. It's what's your personal favorite. So it could be for artistic reasons, or for it just does a really cool thing in like the digital space in Hex that you've always wanted to see in a card but never got to before. And now we're just looking at all of Thrawn's cards now.
Yep.
And
ignore this really janky Trishard brew down here. It's bad.
Don't play that this week, guys.
The name Metaquake is a joke because it's not good.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a real quick segment. We're gonna bounce back and forth, and as you can see that he's brought up on the top, our card combination this week are Blood Constants, which surprisingly there aren't very many of.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be more than this when I suggested that as an option. Then I was like, oh, this is it. But before we get into breaking down our specific blood constants that we wanted to talk about, I'm going to bring up on screen the first clue for what's that card. I would direct your focus to the top center of the screen there, and you are seeing a piece of the art for a card that is standard legal. If you are able to name what that card is, you want to @Thrawn Omega so that I see your nice red name looking at me. And the first person to correctly name what that card is going to win an Evo code. And again, it is a standard legal card. You picked wrong, sorry, says Tim Lagore. As we go through some of our cards, I do have a clue number 2 and a clue number 3. So if nobody guesses the card in time, or as we go through a couple cards, then I will pull up the next clue. But so I just wanted to get that started. But why don't you go ahead and what constant do you want to talk about first?
So my first one was actually mentioned a little earlier in the chat. Closed coffins was comes in my number 3 spot. Closed coffins. It's one of those cards that when I first saw it, I really thought it felt really good in like the mono blood archetype, and I don't know why it didn't see more play. And I don't know if it's just because it doesn't do anything when you play it, and which gives your opponent an opportunity for it to be destroyed, and then nothing happens basically. So you just had like a no effect turn 3. If that's why it didn't get as much play as it should have, but I feel like it's just a weaker hero fall on when you play it, but it's like a forever hero fall if it can't be answered, keep removing cards or
Right.
removing. Also, on the other hand, it fell. I think if I remember correctly, Closed Coffin out around Turbo PA, like maybe a little bit before.
A little before, I think.
When it moved, like when the meta shifted away from troop heavy decks, it kind of became much more lackluster, because obviously if there's no troops to kill, it's really not doing anything. But yeah. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, I did not rank mine 1, 2, or 3. I just grabbed 3. So the first one I'll bring up is Forsake the Shards, which is new to Doombringer, and I don't think is seeing much play, but I think has some future potential, and I'd love to see some play eventually. It's deploy, discard your hand, and you lose all non-blood thresholds. And then at the start of your turn, create a random blood card you meet the threshold requirements to play and put it into your hand. So you can find a way to get rid of a good chunk of your hand. You're now drawing 2 cards a turn. And if you're throwing this into mono blood, you don't care that you're losing non-blood thresholds because you're not losing anything. And now you're playing a 3-cost constant that basically says discard your hand, draw 2 cards a turn. And if you can pick off a lot of things, or you have some sort of recursion or revival mechanic, then maybe discarding your hand isn't even that prohibitive a requirement. So, this is a card, if I ever got my brewing hat on and I really wanted to try to puzzle something out, this is a blood constant I would love to find a way to make work for me sometime.
Yeah, it works super well with the like turn 2, like the hand destruction decks. You turn 2 Demented Whisper, turn 3 Cockatrice, turn 4 something, and then maybe that's on 5. So, assuming you also played a resource most of those turns, you're almost out of cards at that point. But yeah, I like it. It's a 2 of in my current mono blood deck that hasn't seen any play yet because mono blood is still not in the best place. So on to the next one. Demented Ascension is my number 2. Anyone that's ever watched me knows I love playing Barry, and that is really all I gotta say about this. We got an Ascension card that works in the Barry archetype. It's not nearly as strong as Psychic Ascension, but it's still on the same level that if you Demented Ascension early, it's pretty hard for your opponent to come back and win. It's rough. What is he saying? Duskman? Oh. True. Works with Duskman for Forsake. Also, just really good art, really good feels, and it was also really low costed, which I like. Just all around one of my favorite blood constant.
Yeah. So for the podcast listeners, Demented Ascension is at the start of your turn, if the opposing champion has more cards in their crypt than their deck, void this. Then you transform into a Paragon of Insanity, And the Paragon of Insanity is pay a charge, look at the 3 random cards in opposing crypt, play one of them for free, and void the others. When a card enters an opposing crypt, deal 1 damage to that card's controller. So I did. I got a copy of this as one of my options when I was playing Corinth versus Corinth, and I just had to laugh because this is probably the most useless legendary ever in that format.
I mean, that's fair. It's pretty bad.
Pretty much
Though
the worst.
Oh yeah. It doesn't work no matter what happens.
So I have to update on name that card because Rima was the first person who got it.
You got Spell Bobble.
Spellbobble Gobblers was correct. Only needed 1 clue. So here's clue number 2 was some flame. Clue number 3 was a giant eyeball, and there's your actual card. So there's the eyeball, but there's your actual card. So Rima, I need to know your in-game name, and then after our stream, I will send you the Evo code.
I think your clue number 1s need to be smaller.
Yeah, it's that chunk of the card right there, and then the flames is here, and then the eyeball was this little chunk. You are the Overmind. The Overmind.
Such an abomination.
Sounds good. So I have got you written down, and I will probably shoot it to you as an in-game mail here since I have the client up after our stream is done. So congrats on winning an Evo code for correctly being the first person to name that card. All right, and so I'll take these down here, okay, and then go on with what your next constant was going to be.
I think
we did your second one with that. So mine, this isn't the most exciting pick because I think a lot of constructed decks have used this in Blood, but I love Journey into Nightmare as a card. You know, just constant. At the start of your turn, put the top card of each opposing champion's deck into your hand. Its thresholds become blood. So you're basically just slapping this card down on the table. Every turn you're stealing one of their cards, and sometimes you get a shard and it's not that exciting. And sometimes you rip one of your opponent's bombs right off their deck and then turn around and start to beat their face in with it. And to me, that's it's incredibly fun for me to kill my opponent with their own cards. I don't see why anybody would not want to do that. So that's why I'm pretty hype on this card, and I've definitely run it in Mono Blood before.
Ooh, he just extended it on the stream.
That is right.
It's a good one. I like it.
Got 102 of them rare Stardust. Got to use them every once in a while.
That was in contention for mine for just the artwork alone, but I went with mechanics this week instead.
Tim Lagor says I made it all dirty. Ooh, 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 ooh. But now you get to see more of the eyeball moon and stuff. All right, and then you got a third.
Yes, my number one spot goes Zombie Plague. Probably because it's one of the more OG cards. I still have my Zombie Plague deck. I tried to make an all zombies and vampire deck like right out the gate when the game first came out. I thought, back when we were little Hex nooblets and we didn't know anything, and this is just one of those cards like last week that just encapsulates everything I love about Hex. It just let me read it again. Sorry, I'm really bad for the whole podcast thing. Zombie Plague is a 3-cost double blood threshold card constant that at the start of your turn reveal 3 random cards from opposing champion's deck. Revealed troops get -1 power, -1 toughness, and void revealed troops with 0 toughness or less. Summon a zombie for each troop voided this way. So basically, you're just slowly making all of your opposing troops weaker that they've yet to draw. And on the off chance that you basically kill one in this manner, you then get a zombie. You get your own 2/2 body for it. It's just it was just it encapsulated from that first set just something that you can't do in paper TCGs. Like there's no way you could ever expect someone to somehow have a counter or somehow know which card you just
Right.
revealed to make it weaker, and then you put it back in the deck. And so it's that complete beautiful use of digital space, which was like the reason we all kicked back this whole dream in the first place. So that one's always been, and just it will always be one of my favorite cards, and I will never delete that deck, even though I've deleted almost every other that's rotated out of standard. That one is still in my save decks. So Zombie Plague is my numero uno pick for Blood Constants.
Tim Lagor says you could put stickers on because we all know anybody who's playing a paper card game loves having their cards marked in any fashion. That'll go over well. I'm gonna need to. I forgot PVE was a thing, so we'll have to jump over to those in a minute. But my last one, I was going to use Zombie Plague, and then I saw that you took it in show notes, so I was like, okay, I have to come up with something else now because I didn't commit mine to paper. So I grabbed Pact of Pain as my old school blood constant. Pay 2 health, draw a card. So you kind of have to pay your proverbial pound of flesh for more ammunition to use to kill your opponent. And especially now we've seen so much more as sets go on, different ways to gain health in blood and diamond and other shards that, like, I'm not big on the immortal scene, but I think this is a card that you could have some fun with. Although there might be, at this point there might be more efficient ways to draw cards than this. But this doesn't exhaust. You can do this multiple times in a turn. Every time you pay 2 and 2 health, you draw a card. So if you've got a fair amount of resources and some life to burn, you could draw a fair amount of cards in a single turn.
Also, in all fairness, your card actually saw meta play. So, there were pack decks back in the day. Pack of Life, Pack of Pain.
Yep, good old 2-packed, I think they called it.
There's only one PVE one.
Okay. Well, at least that I have. I don't have. Okay, yeah, there is just the one shown. I have one copy of Taste of Defeat. You may sacrifice this if you do destroy all troops. At the start of each champion's turn, that champion sacrifices a troop they control. So you can, just play it and then immediately get rid of it as a board wipe. Otherwise, it's a slow
you can't
kill everything.
Oh no, yeah, no, yes. You can sacrifice it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you either play it as a board wipe or you play it as a remove one from each person each turn.
Okay, so ignoring the equipment for a minute, we'll get to that. But in its base form, it's extinction for 5 instead of 4, if you want to go that way, or it's a slow drip.
Yeah.
The equipment, distasteful boots. Your Taste of Defeats have when an opposing troop leaves play, gain 1 health, so you can profit that way. Or the legendary Gauntlets of Spite. Your Taste of Defeat have when an opposing troop leaves play, deal 1 damage to each opposing champion. That's pretty nice. That's extinction with benefits. Wipe out all their troops and then ding them however many health too.
Testy. No Xenoth. I mean, Xenoth's a good card, but it didn't make my top 50. What do you guys think about a turbo mode for tournaments, casual or whatever?
By turbo, I'm guessing you mean shorter play clocks, Shiv Daddy? Like, instead of the standard 30-minute clock, it's a 20-minute thing? By the way, does anybody know where you find this? Because I have one, and I have no idea how I've gotten there. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of a fast clock, especially because I have been annoyed from time to time being on the wrong end of an extremely slow player. Like, I had a fight night where it took somebody 25 out of their 30 minutes to kill me with an aggro deck, and that was just miserable. So I'm not opposed to that. Where do you slot that into the lineup of tournaments, though?
Personally, I'm not a fan just because it just immediately stops certain archetypes from being or wanting to be played. But I mean, if you know you're going into it, I guess you deck. You wouldn't run into really long combo decks because you just make your opponent play it out and run out of time.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, because as somebody who's been playing Hex from the beginning, I get it. Like, even though I'm not very good, I at least can work my way through my lines of play pretty quickly, and then kick myself 10 seconds later when I realize I'm an idiot and that I made the wrong decision. But I don't know that you want to kind of turn Hex into a speed chess, if you will, and make people feel forced to play faster. So
I feel like, yeah, it's like a point of view of people coming from Hearthstone as opposed to coming from other teams. Like, my background's in other TCGs, so I'm used to it. Used to like not having time limits at all. Like, if you have someone that's really, really long and playing forever, you actually have to physically call a judge over to make them, determine if they're actually slow playing you or not, as a penalty, as opposed to actually making a decision. But I don't mind having. I think the amount of times we have to play our games is perfectly fine. It allows all the archetypes to be played, and I mean, when you click that find an opponent button, how much time you're committing. Like, it could be a 15-minute fight, it could be more, but
right.
Going into it. So
Yeah, I don't hate the idea at all, because there are definitely times where I'm like, come on, let's. I'm not getting any younger here. Let's go. Um, I can see that maybe it's like a once every 2 weeks type thing, or a couple of those a month. Um, Not sure. And again, I'm not a Hex designer. I'm just Joe Schmo on the street like anybody else. But I'm not sure if I off my gut says I'm not sure I'd want to do it more often than that. But that's the top of my head, not fully considered opinion. People's attention span keeps getting smaller. This is true, and Hex needs to try to figure out a way to make people's attention spans get longer because otherwise they'd be changing their gameplay and making it too simple to accommodate people's 10-second attention spans.
I want that. I'd rather have my complex TCG play. IMO.
That's why we're here. So did you want to get into the one Ask Theron / Manifesto question we had of the week?
Sure. Our Ask Theron / Manifesto question comes from Ares via Twitter. At Theron Omega at Hex Manifesto. Regular cost of standard construction. I've seen a lot of suggestions, but not the following. What if Hex Entertainment increase the proc chance of primal packs from 2% to 5 or 6%? This would also one make auction house packs cheaper and encourage buying packs from store. Hashtag Top Deck Radio.
I approve the use of the hashtag.
I do too. As far as the question, I don't think simply increasing the chance of getting a primal pack by a couple percentage would impact the auction house enough to make all of standard construction actually lower in cost. I feel like a bigger change, i.e. the big change to the Clash and Bash rewards that just happened, is a much better way. Just pumping more packs into the system would be better than increasing the primal pack chance, because at least in the circles that I run in, most people sell their primal packs anyway. So granted, you are effectively almost doubling the amount of primal packs, but I don't feel like it's pushed the price down that far. I think they would roughly stay about the same price. You would just have a couple more to buy.
It'd be, who knows the sample size as to how many more booster packs, or not boosters, extra primals that's going to make. I mean, I'm the guy who always opens my primals because I'm the guy who's advocating for mystery boxes, and I like the surprise of what's in my primal pack. So yeah, I'm the person who cracks those open whenever I get one, especially in the first 2 months of a set when I'm trying to build a collection. If I'm pretty close to done with my playset, then I'll probably hold those at that point as a Dungeon Master of Entrath reward for somebody who really wrecks my face spectacularly.
I mean, it definitely will work. Some people chat saying it doesn't matter who opens them. Like it will reduce prices. Yes, that's not a false statement, but enough to will reduce enough costs of enough rares that the actual cost, the I'm going to use the words barrier to entry of standard competitive constructed play be lowered, and I don't think so. I don't think that's enough to bring down the entire overall cost of standard decks, like the actual good one.
Yeah,
Because even out of those primal packs, you're going to have the unplayable 31 plat rares in them. So you're not adding all playable cards to the pool.
yeah, this is the part in our show where I freely admit I am not a great economic mind when it comes to hex stuff. Whenever Mokog started talking hexonomics or anything, my eyes just almost always started glazing over. So I'm not going to be much help in the talk show format on that stretch. But I mean, if Hex wants to update how frequently you're getting primal packs, you won't see me complain about it.
I
But
just want primal packs.
I just want to open more primal packs, man. But I not and that would be a nice selling point to new players too. Is hey, we. But then again, I think to the new players, when you're talking 2% versus 5% chance to get something like that, is that really like a sexy advertising? Ooh, hey, I have a 5% chance of getting this thing, and I think there's bigger bang for the buck ways to kind of draw interest and put cards in.
Yeah,
I don't know, just my thoughts. It's not a
I would.
bad
I
idea
would.
necessarily, but
I'm not 100% sure if this is the numbers actually work on this, but I would wager, put my money on if you just made it that every 50 packs you bought was a guaranteed primal, or every 40 packs you bought was a guaranteed primal, you would just get more people buying packs, which would both put more primals and more packs into the
no.
thing. Because you're not wondering, like say you bought 40 packs at the beginning of the set, and then over the course of the set you bought another 20 packs, you go, oh, well, I'm 20 more packs from a primal. I might as well bust out those other 20 packs. Like, I
That
feel like having a plateau, like a goal, would push people more towards just constantly hitting it over and over again, as opposed to I'll buy 50 and then they get none, and then they're like, well, I'm not going to buy another 50 because I ain't get any of that 50. What's the chances of getting one this 50? I mean, it's still obviously the chances are the same because it's a number and it can't be changed, but it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, I could totally get behind that. Other games have like a buy a box promotion, or not the same genre at all, but other video games have like collector's editions and stuff. So if you want to go buy X packs, get guaranteed primal, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Tim McGraw says, put a
Put the
counter
counter.
on screen. You need
That might
X.
be a little too in the face, but
Well, yeah,
I'm
yes,
saying, like,
yes,
when
no.
a set comes out, I usually buy like an X amount of packs, and then through playing in limited and playing in tournaments and just having $10 here or there, I buy some more packs. And if I realized, oh, I am 10 packs away from my next primal, I would just drop drop the money on 10 more packs and grab it. Like, why not? I feel it would push me more to buy more packs than to do anything else with the same plot.
So Strawmore with the real hard hitting investigative questions wants to know if we have a hex waifu.
Oh, we have a silly question.
We do have a silly question. Except that
Oh,
it's not silly, it's serious. You have to think real hard. Who's your ex waifu?
uh,
See, my immediate answer without actually thinking and scrolling through all the X art is the collector's edition Lixel off the new deck.
oh, that's a good one.
The animated alternate art Eyes of the Heart.
I might be a
Um,
little more darker than you. We actually had mine up on the screen a second ago. Um,
which
the
they can't see that, but if we
Let's see
get
the
to it, I'll
question.
pull it up.
No, it was on the screen earlier. The aftermath of Paragon of Thought, or
Oh,
uh,
the insanity,
of Insanity. Yeah.
demented. Ascension.
What is a waifu? Tim Legore asking the real hard questions. I mean, you got it all right there. Redhead.
Boy, that is some awkward bone structure. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I mean, the hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel divine. All right, Shakira, whatever.
A waifu is something that gives you a lifeu. It's chat like that makes me sometimes think I need a lifeu.
I'm good for now. So we got no plays of the week.
We have no plays of the week.
For hot takes, bold. Oh, you already did your hot take.
I did my hot take. We're at an hour 39, so yeah, we can go your hot take, shameless plugs, and then I do have the final round of the Hex Clash that we can show off.
Perfect. I'll end this up right at 10 o'clock. All right. So my hot take from last week actually came true. Though it was, I feel like I cheated a little bit last week. If you all recall or were not here, I predicted that someone would build a deck that finally took down Lady Avalanche Momentum, which kind of happened because Lady Avalanche and Momentum was not seen in abundance this week in the bash. But I don't think it's because someone brewed the anti deck for it, unfortunately. This week, however, I believe which one's a bold prediction?
Yeah, you can have a hot take or a bold prediction or both. It's just kind of freeform.
I feel this one falls more of a bold prediction. First change to the bash this weekend in Clash. Even though I will be away and not playing in either, I am predicting combined. So what? There's gonna be 2 clashes and 2 bashes, right?
Yes.
4 tournaments total. I'm going to bold prediction combined all the players from all 4 tournaments. Repeats are okay. 250 players.
So all Clash and Bash, all 4 tournaments, you add up the numbers and you're getting to 200.
No, bolder. 300 players.
Right,
add up all 4 members of all 4 tournaments. So that's what, an average of 75 each. So that's not only 15-ish more that were in both Bash and Clash last week. There's also 2 Bashes and Clashes, which means it's actually double the actual number of people playing in tournaments.
Right.
So that's my call. That's my bold prediction. 300 combined players of the tournaments this weekend.
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I'm also gonna be out of town for the weekend, so we're probably not gonna have replays of any of those tournaments to show off on Monday, because I'm not gonna be around to grab them. Unless I find a way to take a deep dive into the server history and find those, which is kind of a nightmare to do, to be honest with you.
My gosh. A lot of people have really put some thought into this whole waifu thing before.
Yeah, I think a little too much thought, maybe, and this comes from an anime lover. But anything else you want to throw in before shameless plugs?
No, I think that's my prediction. That's it.
All right, then check out your shame and plug something.
All right. So I have been Hex_Manifesto. You can find me there at all your social media needs, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. If you have not given me a follow, I'd appreciate it. I stream all throughout the week and all the weekends after this one, because this will be my last out of towning, and then I will be back to the grind. We play PvP, PvE, and on Fridays we do the Shardsworn Showdown, which is what my little cool art box around my head is about, which will unfortunately be canceled this weekend. I guess that's a community news-ish.
They're not doing it at all?
Nope. I think unless there's some last-minute changes on Marty's side, I think he asked me, or basically told me that he was not going to be doing one this Friday. But next Friday, upon our return, will be our first official channel Shardsworn Showdown. So I guess it's all right to take a little break. We'll do a 2-week brew, so we come in strong.
There you go. So not this Friday the 4th, but Friday the 11th, you're making your official channel debut.
Yep.
Yep, and I will be streaming on the official channel again at the same time you're seeing me now, 7 to 10 p.m. Central, which is 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific. Doing Dungeon Masters of Entrath, which is my game show, where currently I have 5 different towers set up that people can challenge me. So basically, 5 different game formats that you can play against me to try to win some prizes. And it's free to enter. So basically, show up, play some casual kitchen table games, win some of my stuff. It's, who doesn't like some free prizes, right? If Hex ever makes Corinth versus Corinth a freely challengeable mode, then Corinth versus Corinth will become the 6th tower, and I will let people throw down in games against me anytime there. So you can catch me on Tuesdays. I'm taking a break from streaming on my own channel on Wednesdays because 3 days in a row of content creation is kind of exhausting. So I'm going to be remixing a little bit what my stream schedule looks like on my own personal channel. But I also want to kind of semi-plug, semi-tease that for the first time I have a few discretionary codes that I can give out for things, in the sense that, I could either give them out on my personal channel or not. They do specifically need to be about the promotion of Hex, so I'm not going to be giving people things as like a personal favors or whatever. But if you're a positive voice in the community and you're trying to do something to help promote the game and make things a cooler experience for other people, Thrawn might slide into your inbox and be the code fairy for you. So I believe good deeds deserve to be rewarded, and I would rather creative people who are trying to do hard things be rewarded than me try to use some of those extra codes for my own personal advancement of my channel, because I'd feel a little bit scummy about that. So short version, do good things, maybe you get good stuff for it, as a thumbs up for me for putting the effort in. But any other plugs before we show off a Clash match?
I think that's it.
Okay, then I will turn off. I'm going to cut off the recording here. So thank you if you're listening to the podcast version. Thank you for listening. We'll have a new episode for you next week.